About Being Careful by Ajahn Chah. The Buddha taught to see the body in the body. What does this mean? We are all familiar with the parts of the body, such as hair, nails, teeth, and skin. So, how do we see the body in the body? If we recognize all these things as being impermanent, unsatisfactory, and not self, that's what is called seeing the body in the body. Then it isn't necessary to go into detail and meditate on the separate parts. It's like having fruit in the basket. If we have already counted the pieces of fruit, then we know what's there. And when we need to, we can pick up the basket and take it away. And all the pieces come with it. We know the fruit is all there, so we don't have to count it again. Having meditated on the 32 parts of the body and recognized them as something not stable or permanent, we no longer need to worry ourselves separating them like this and meditating in such detail. Just as with the basket of fruit, we don't have to dump all the fruit out and count it again and again. But we do carry the basket along to our destination, walking mindfully and carefully, taking care not to stumble and fall. When we see the body in the body, which means we see the Dhamma in the body, knowing our own and others' bodies as impermanent phenomena, then we don't need detailed explanations. Sitting here, we have mindfulness constantly in control, knowing things as they are, and meditation then becomes quite simple. It's the same if we meditate on Buddha. If we understand what Buddha really is, then we don't need to repeat the word Buddha. It means having full knowledge and firm awareness. This is meditation. Still, meditation is generally not well understood. We practice in a group, but we often don't know what it's all about. Some people think meditation is really hard to do. I come to the monastery, but I can't sit. I don't have much endurance. My legs hurt, my back aches. I'm in pain all over. So they give up on it and don't come anymore, thinking that they can't do it. But in fact, Samadhi, or tranquil concentration, is not sitting. Samadhi isn't walking. It isn't lying down or standing. Sitting, walking, closing the eyes, opening the eyes, these are all mere actions. Having your eyes closed doesn't necessarily mean you're practicing Samadhi. It could just mean that you're drowsy and dull. If you're sitting with your eyes closed, but you're falling asleep, your head bobbing all over, and your mouth hanging open, that's not sitting in Samadhi. It's sitting with your eyes closed. Samadhi and closed eyes are two separate methods. Real Samadhi can be practiced with eyes open or eyes closed. You can be sitting, walking, standing, or lying down. Samadhi means the mind is firmly focused, with all-encompassing mindfulness, restraint, and caution. You are constantly aware of right and wrong, constantly watching all conditions arising in the mind. When it shoots off to think of something, having a mood of aversion or longing, you are aware of that. Some people get discouraged. I just can't do it. As soon as I sit, my mind starts thinking of home, and that's evil. Hey, if just that much is evil, the Buddha never would have become Buddha. He spent 5 years struggling with his mind, thinking of his home and his family. It was only after 6 years that he awakened. Some people feel that these sudden arisings of thought are wrong or evil. You may have an impulse to kill someone, but you are aware of it in the next instant, and you realize that killing is wrong, and so you stop and refrain. Is there harm in this? What do you think? Or if you have a thought about stealing something, and that is followed by a stronger recollection that to do so is wrong, and so you refrain from acting on it. Is that bad karma? It's not that every time you have an impulse, you instantly accumulate bad karma. Otherwise, how could there be any way to liberation? Impulses are merely impulses. Thoughts are merely thoughts. In the first instance, you haven't created anything yet. In the second instance, if you act on it with body, speech, or mind, then you are creating something. Avidya, or ignorance, has taken control. If you have the impulse to steal, and then you are aware of yourself and aware that this would be wrong, this is wisdom. And there is vijja, or knowledge, instead. The mental impulse is not consummated. This is timely awareness of wisdom arising and informing our experience. If there is the first mind moment of wanting to steal something, and then we act on it, that is the dharma of delusion. The actions of body, speech, and mind that follow the impulse will bring negative results. And this is how it is. Merely having thoughts is not negative karma. If we don't have any thoughts, how will wisdom develop? Some people simply want to sit with a blank mind, and that's wrong understanding. I'm talking about samadhi that is accompanied by wisdom. In fact, the Buddha didn't wish for a lot of samadhi. He didn't want jhana, also translated as mental absorption, and samapati. He saw samadhi as one component factor of the path. Sila, also translated as virtue or morality, samadhi, which is a very relaxed, tranquil form of focus and concentration, and panya, which is translated as wisdom, are components or ingredients, like ingredients used in cooking. We use spices in cooking to make food tasty. The point isn't the spices themselves, but the food we eat. Practicing samadhi is the same. The Buddha's teachers, Uddaka and Alara, put heavy emphasis on practicing the jhanas and attaining various kinds of powers like clairvoyance. But if you get that far, it's hard to undo. Some places teach this deep tranquility, to sit with delight in quietude. The meditators then get intoxicated by their samadhi. If they have sila, they get intoxicated by their sila. If they walk the path, they become intoxicated by the path, dazzled by the beauty and wonders they experience, and they don't reach the real destination. The Buddha said that this is a subtle error. Still, it's something correct for those on a coarse level or on a gross level. But actually, what the Buddha wanted was for us to have an appropriate measure of samadhi without getting stuck there. After we train in and develop samadhi, then samadhi should develop wisdom. Samadhi that is on the level of shamatha, tranquility, is like a rock covering grass. In samadhi that is sure and stable, even when the eyes are open, wisdom is there. When wisdom has been born, it encompasses and knows the way things are, or it knows the cause and effects of all things, not just physical laws, but mental laws. So the teacher did not want those refined levels of concentration and cessation, because they become a diversion and the path is forgotten. So what is necessary is not to be attached to sitting or any other particular posture. Samadhi doesn't reside in having the eyes closed, the eyes open, or in sitting, standing, walking, or lying down. Samadhi pervades all postures and activities. Older persons who often can't sit very well can contemplate especially well and practice samadhi easily. They too can develop a lot of wisdom. How is it that they can develop wisdom? Everything is rousing them. When they open their eyes, they don't see things as clearly as they used to. Their teeth give them trouble and fall out. Their bodies ache most of the time. Just that is the place of study. So really, meditation is easy for old folks. Meditation is hard for youngsters. Young people's teeth are strong, so they can enjoy their food. They sleep soundly, their faculties are intact, and the world is fun and exciting to them. So they get deluded in a big way. For the old ones, when they chew on something hard, they're soon in pain. Right there, the Devaduta or divine messengers are talking to them. They're teaching them every day. When they open their eyes, their sight is fuzzy. In the morning, their backs ache. In the evening, their legs hurt. And that's it. This is really an excellent subject to study. Some of you older people will say you can't meditate. What do you want to meditate on? Who will you learn meditation from? So this is seeing the body in the body and sensation in sensation. Are you seeing this, or are you running away? Saying you can't practice because you're too old is only due to wrong understanding. The question is, are things clear to you? Elderly persons have a lot of thinking, a lot of sensations, a lot of discomfort and pain. Everything appears. If they meditate, they can really testify to it. So I say that meditation is easy for old folks. They can do it best. It's like the way everyone says, when I'm old, I'll go to the monastery. If you understand this, it's true or right. You have to see it within yourself. When you sit, it's true. When you stand up, it's true. When you walk, it's true. Everything is a hassle. Everything is presenting obstacles. And everything is teaching you. Isn't this so? Can you just get up and walk away so easily now? When you stand up, it's oi. Or haven't you noticed? And it's oi when you walk. It's prodding you. When you're young, you can just stand up and walk, going on in your way. But you don't really know anything. When you're old, every time you stand up is oi. Isn't that what you say? Oi, oi. Every time you move, you learn something. So how can you say it's difficult to meditate? Where else is there to look? It's all correct. The divine messengers or Devadutta are telling you something. It's most clear. Sankhara, which is translated as thought forms, are telling you that they are not stable or permanent. Not you or yours. They are telling you this very moment. But we think differently. We don't think that this is right. We entertain wrong view, and our ideas are far from the truth. But actually, all persons can see impermanence, suffering, and lack of self, and give rise to dispassion and disenchantment, because the evidence is right there within them all the time, and I think that's good. Having the inner sensitivity that is always aware of right and wrong is called Buddha. It's not necessary to be continually repeating Buddha. You have counted the fruit in your basket. Every time you sit down, you don't have to go to the trouble of spilling out the fruit and counting it again. You can leave it in the basket. But someone with mistaken attachment will keep counting. He'll stop under a tree, spill it out and count, and put it back in the basket. Then he'll walk on to the next stopping place and do it again. But he's just counting the same fruit. And this is craving itself. He's afraid that if he doesn't count, there will be some mistake. We are afraid that if we don't keep saying Buddha, we'll be mistaken. How are we mistaken? It's only the person who doesn't know how much fruit there is who needs to count. Once you know, you can take it easy and just leave it in the basket. When you're sitting, you just sit. When you're lying down, you just lie down, because your fruit is all there with you. So I just want to share a personal reflection on this reading. The reason why I chose to read this teaching from Ajahn Chah, who's a well-known meditation teacher in the Thai forest tradition. He passed away in the early 1990s. I love and respect this teacher a lot. I've learned a lot from his Western students and by reading his books. So in the Thai forest meditation tradition, one of the ways to meditate is to recite mentally the word Buddha. Bud, when you take an in breath, you think to your mind Bud. When you take out breath, you keep your mind to the word Do. So Buddha. So the word Buddha means Buddha. Buddha means the aware, the awakened, knowing one. So when he said in this passage that when you have Samadhi, you develop wisdom. So what this means that in your everyday life, when you have this stability of tranquil, peaceful, open mindfulness is actually very similar to Samadhi, meaning you keep taking note of what's happening in the present moment of your body, speech, and mind. So it could be of your bodily action and your speech, the way you speak, and also the thoughts that arise. So for most beginners, it's the easiest to start with the body because the mind can only observe and think one thing at a time. So soon enough, when your mindfulness is strong, you realize that you can drop the word Buddha and your mindfulness is able to track the actions from your body, speech, and mind. So in my case, I became quite adept at tracking my thoughts. I wouldn't say I'm an expert on it. I can't track my thoughts every moment, but I'm able to track it when my mindfulness is strong in daily activities. And I don't believe my thoughts. Not all of my thoughts. How do I say this? Only certain thoughts which I didn't make an effort to think about. And this is not mind wandering. It's just, if I have a question about something, and if my Samadhi is there will be an answer to it. I'll understand the thoughts that arise and the choices that I have to make, whether it is to do with my karma or not, whether it's a karmic action or not, and whether it's a wholesome or unwholesome one. So many people mistake karma as owing something to someone, therefore you're born, for example, you're born to a parent because you owe them in a past life. So this is all wrong understanding. That is not karma. So in this passage which I read, a teaching from Ajahn Chah, he clearly said that an impulse to do something is karma. And we can choose to act on it or choose to refrain from it so that that karma dies and we're no longer afflicted with it. In this life, and of course in Buddhism, there are other lives. So as long as we are no longer attracted to impulses that bring us negative feelings and results, our future lives will be a much happier one if we are not happy now and we learn to refrain from it. So that's all for my sharing. So thank you for listening.